OTT measurement, I'll paraphrase from the actual title. Basically, OTT measurement sucks. It's terrible. And because of that, content owners are losing billions and billions of dollars.
And your time starts now.
Let's see here. So we've heard a lot today in terms of, and generally over the last year in terms of the over-the-top ecosystem being a huge opportunity, a rapidly growing market. We're already looking at it being over $26 billion, the ecosystem in 2015. That's going to skyrocket to over $65 billion over the next few years. And as a result, most of the conversation has been around measurement of advertising and not being able to segment audiences or deliver advertising, and that's definitely a tremendous problem. Really, it's been because there's been very little to no significant innovation in the tactics for measurement over the last decade. So panels have been around forever. People are still using panel-based approaches, which is really difficult when you talk about this new desire of one-to-one marketing across digital and OTT. Also kind of limits people to the locations, like domestic in the United States where those panels are. Also, whether it's on the data management side or the measurement side, people are still using cookies for web. Well, there's no cookies and device IDs across the bulk of the over-the-top ecosystem, which is connected TV. And then also using SDKs to get measurement like we did in mobile. There's too much fragmentation in the over-the-top ecosystem to really leverage that. So what I want to talk about and where measurement is even more so than the advertising industry really hurting content owners, it's in understanding the value of licensing their content to SVOD, which right now is actually the biggest revenue portion of the over-the-top ecosystem, are already at $15 billion, soon to be over $19 billion by next year. And really what that is because where people are getting access to data, we have the social networks, which really are short form content, even if it's professionally produced or user generated or uploaded content. And then you have the more of the SVOD and AVOD solutions ranging from a Netflix to things like Hulu and HBO Now, which in the big scope of things, all of those combined, all of those commercial environments, only 30% of the consumption of professionally produced content online. The other 70% is things powered by peer-to-peer and BitTorrent and Popcorn Time and people trying to get away from some of these geofencing issues that were just talked about earlier. And what we do is we measure that. And the reason why that's important is the correlation between linear television demand for content and commercial OTT is not there. So the things that are performing the best on linear in the US are often not what performed the best in terms of globally on an OTT basis. The other thing is because of the walled gardens, you're not even getting access to the bulk of the data across that 30%. And then even now that people are having more and more owned and operated over-the-top platforms, whether you're talking about your TV Everywhere applications or straight to OTT solutions, those audience sizes are really small in the big scheme, in the overall scope of things. So you're talking about people having hundreds of thousands of viewers or subscribers, or even in the low single-digit millions, and mostly only in particular markets. So they still don't even have a good understanding of the global demand for their own content. So what we've seen is the only thing that actually correlates with the demand for over-the-top content is over-the-top performance. And so we look at the over-the-top ecosystem and it correlates perfectly with what happens commercially because it's the same user experience. It's access to content that's not controlled by availability windows or geofencing. And so we see that's the only thing that actually correlates more so than linear and also more so than social. And what that means is one specific example, and this example is from NBC, but you could replace NBC with Fox or CBS or Turner or whoever you want, is you look at a show like Heroes Reborn, that was their number 11th show out of the 20 scripted shows on NBC last year. It was number 63 out of the top 209 scripted shows on major broadcast or cable in the US, and it was canceled, right? But it was the 11th most streamed show in the United States, and it was in the top 15 in the top 10 global internet connected markets in the world. So when you talk about the value of that show for SVOD. It is one of the most valuable shows in the world over the past year, but it couldn't make it out of the first season because of being reliant on linear television ratings in the US. And so you can see the same thing and how that differs for something like Heartbeat that had similar linear ratings but was irrelevant OTT. So really what we find is that we've been able to work with media companies to better understand what the value of their content is, both for licensing or for OTT services that are looking to buy and produce new content as well. Perfect. 1 second over. I was a little bit over, all right?
I'm just amazed at how well you guys have been doing. That is absolutely counterintuitive. You would think that the best performing television shows would also be the best performing online shows. So tell me about how you're working with the content providers to tell them about this and how that's changing the way they're thinking about licensing those shows.
Yeah, so I mean, the biggest thing has been a frustration from the content owner side as they're starting to do more international licensing for SVOD. So Netflix or Amazon, everybody, nobody's talking about just licensing your content for the United States. People want global rights. And if you really look at Netflix over the last 2 quarters, they're double or triple their global acquisition as compared to the United States. So it's more and more important for them to have the global rights for content than ever before. And so if you're only getting linear television ratings from Nielsen in the United States, and you have panels that have very small reach into markets like Brazil and Australia and India, where there's immense opportunity for you to monetize your content. I mean, are you going to make, $100 million deals based off of how many tweets, were about your content in a certain country? You're not going to, or you don't want to do that. And so what we've been able to say to media companies is, well, out of the 13 million households that we measured in Brazil last quarter, your show is number 1. So it should be very valuable. Don't get railroaded on the licensing of that. And so that's been pretty exciting. And on the other side, everybody's launching OTT services in these markets too, and they want to be able to pretty much play what we call Moneyball with their content acquisition. What opportunities can I go and find where I'm not paying a gajillion dollars for Friends, where nobody in my country watches the show. Right, and so that's where a lot of the traction, the measurement side has been for us.
Very good. Question?
Just out of interest, when you do the research globally, do you find people saying, they were watching a show that wasn't meant to be available in that country?
Yeah, so a lot of it, so the biggest misnomer is about cost or people not being, when you talk about people that have access to broadband internet, devices that can stream content in a lot of these emerging markets, they are the middle class and mass affluent. So it's not about cost, it's really about a lot of times availability, right? Like you said, Game of Thrones isn't available till next week. They're not waiting a week, right? So a lot of it is availability and access to content that drives this behavior.
Andre, thank you so much.
Thank you.